Next question.
Okay. Okay, next question is, my son, who's 7 years old, and I want to get into jiu-jitsu. What lessons has it taught you in life?
Well, you know, I talk about jiu-jitsu all the time because I do think it's a great metaphor for life. Some of the things that it teaches you, without a doubt, is it teaches you humility. Because it's not going to teach you humility by telling you, hey, be humble, be humble. It's going to teach you humility because you are going to get submitted and be forced to surrender to people that are smaller than you, that are weaker than you, that aren't as good athletes as you. And that's going to happen on almost a daily basis when you first start out. Mm-hmm. So there's no doubt about that. It's going to teach you about respect. And I had a buddy in the Marine Corps, great dude, Big H. I know you're out there somewhere. And he was a badass. I mean, he looked like a superhero, super strong. And he grew up in, I think he grew up in Texas. He was some kind of a gang member in Texas. Had a rough childhood. He was a badass, scary dude, super nice, but definitely could bring it. And when he started training, after like a month, you know, I said, so, you know, what do you think of jiu-jitsu? And he said, you know, I used to think I was badass, and now I don't want to mess with anybody because I don't know if they've been training for 3 months. And if they have been, I'm in trouble. Yeah. So you definitely will learn respect from jiu-jitsu. Discipline, you know, we were just kind of talking earlier, and I was talking about training today and how I just did not feel like training today. I was all beat up. I was tired. I'm sore. And there's only one thing that got me on the mat, and that's just having the discipline to get on there and know that I needed to train. So there's nobody, I don't care who you are, that feels like training every single day, 7 days a week. But if you want to get better and you want to reach the goal, then you have to do it. And so it teaches you about discipline. And I would say from a mental perspective, one of the coolest things that jiu-jitsu teaches you is it teaches you that maneuver and that tactics and that brains, that those things trump strength and trump meeting force on force. And I talk about this all the time in psychological situations. And it's too bad. I wish everybody in the world trained jiu-jitsu because you have all these metaphors that you could tell them. So it's great when I have a client that actually trains jiu-jitsu because then I can, or understands MMA or watches martial arts or watches UFC, because then you can use these examples. But, you know, the classic case in the mental confrontation is people have a tendency to want to go, you know, fist on fist. And if you say one thing, if you say method A, I say method B, and we're just going to bang those two methods together and see who, you know, a lot of times it's see who has more rank. And you know what, Echo? I'm in charge, so we're going with method B. Well, now you're going to do what I say, but you're not going to do it willingly. You're going to sabotage it, whatever the case may be. That's not jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is using maneuver and setting people up and being more crafty. That's what jiu-jitsu is, and that's how you win. And that's how you win, not just on the mat, but in life as well. And it's the same thing on the battlefield. You know, we have a little saying in combat: he who flanks first wins, meaning the person that gets around to the side and attacks from an unexpected direction is going to win. And it's the same thing in mentally in jiu-jitsu, and it's the same thing in you know, mental confrontations with people. It's who is going to maneuver. And it's always this indirect approach. That's the key phrase that I use when I'm dealing with someone that's not a jiu-jitsu person. And I'm talking about how do they deal with their boss that just does this, or their subordinate that has a big head or whatever. I tell them, listen, you need to use an indirect approach, because the direct approach is not going to get through to this person. I was doing some executive coaching the other day, and I had this guy. He explained the personality of this guy that worked for him, and the guy that had worked for him had been moved underneath him in a reorganization, and it was one of those guys. He's a senior guy who he should have been a peer, but now all of a sudden he's reporting to him, and he's been in the business for 32 years, and he knows stuff better than I do. And then the guy says to me, so I've brought the guy in, and I've told him I'm going to coach him and this is what I'm going to help him with. And I said, okay, you are no way is this guy going to accept that you're going to coach him. It's not in his personality. You can't go. Whereas this guy that I was talking to, call him Mike. I said, Mike, you want to be coached. You want to be helped. You have an open mind. If I came to you and said, hey, I want to coach you, you'd be like, that's great. This guy is the complete opposite. If I go to him and say, hey, I'm going to coach you, he's going to say, I don't need coaching.
Right.
And even if I outrank him and I say, no, I'm going to coach you, he's going to do it reluctantly and he's going to sabotage it and he's never going to put any effort into it. And he's going to actually do the opposite to prove you wrong.
Right. Yeah. He's going to be insecure.
That's the direct approach. Jiu-jitsu is the indirect approach.
Yeah.
So what you do with this guy when you're going to coach him is you say, listen, you know what I need is you're so much more experienced in this. I need some help running the organization. Can you come and help me get things in order and give me a hand straightening things out? And also, can you fill me in on what we can improve inside of our department? And when you do that, now all of a sudden he's starting to tell me what all the problems are. And now I can discreetly and indirectly coach him on how we're going to fix those problems. Mm-hmm. That's jiu-jitsu. And that's one of the lessons you learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah, and not to mention the sort of more obvious things where, you know, it's a great workout. You get, you know, kind of this, you know, men, actually just all people, they have a sort of aggression kind of built into them. Mm-hmm. And it's a spectrum, some people more than others. You can engage.
I understand what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah. You can engage in jiu-jitsu and be a pretty accurate simulation of whether it be a fight or any kind of aggressive combat situation, and it still be safe and doable where you can do it again and again. You can go, you know, the next day. It's if you go spar, right, boxing, you can't really do it every day, and you can't go all out. If you go all out and do it every day, you're going to get messed up. Yeah. In jiu-jitsu, you can do that. And so you get that satisfaction when you leave. And it's kind of strange because when you get the satisfaction from that, you kind of want to do it some more. Mm-hmm. You know, so most people, when you talk to people who have been doing it for over a year, talk to anyone you know that has been doing it more than 1 year, I would say my argument would be 85% or more will tell you that at some point they were addicted to it. Yeah. That they would go to sleep at night and they'd be thinking about a move or something like that.
And to go along with the things that the obvious things, because you're right, there's some obvious things. Mm-hmm. The workout, it's a great workout. You get more in tune with your own body. You learn how to handle yourself in a real fight. And it does absolutely gives you confidence. Mm-hmm. And confidence that you can handle a situation, confidence that that's coupled with the respect that you look at everyone and say, hey, you know what, this guy might be able to, this guy might know more than I do, so I'm going to respect him. But at the same time, you know that, hey, I'm going to be able to at least know what I'm doing very confidently. So it helps out across the board, and it's definitely a great sport.